Good morning. Good morning. Happy days. Happy Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday. So funny. What is up, my friends? I wanted to pop on here and do a little stream. Just have a little chat with you guys, and I will get to the point of the matter. So, it's interesting in network marketing. For years, for as long as I can remember, people talk about find a company, build it for 3-4 years, and live off of that income. And it so rarely happens. It happens, but it rarely happens where you come into something and it's like, I don't know how does the phrase go? It's like I don't know. It's too early in the morning for me to remember phrases. So let me take a quick sip of coffee and we'll get into it. So, but that's something that's promoted and touted, has been and continues to be, where you find one company, you put your head down 3 to 5 years, and you create this lifelong residual income that you can pass on to other generations. And it happens, but it's very, very rare. I got to tell you a quick funny story. I had a guy years ago. I went to Thailand to do several events, and I met this guy. I won't mention his name, but very successful gentleman. Couple things about this is I'm going to go in 2 different directions on this, but this is a couple little interesting little learnings for you guys. So I go there, I meet him. He's with a company that's been around since the early 80s. I met him, probably 2000. I don't know, 2015 would be my guess, 16, 17, I don't know, somewhere around there. And, so he had joined a company that had been around for a long time. And he joined that company well into their tenure, like way many years into it. Actually, it's perfect that I thought about this guy as I'm getting ready to share with you what I'm sharing with you this morning. And when I'm sitting down with him, he's retired in Thailand. He flies back to Los Angeles once a year to attend this company's global convention, and he gets his big bonus check. He's literally at the top echelon of leadership in this company. And when I was sitting down at dinner with him, he's like, yeah, he goes, people always talked about work for 4 years and then retire. He goes, but nobody ever does. He goes, they all work and then they continue to work, or they go to another company. And he goes, I was like, I took it seriously. So he literally worked for 4 years, built a massive organization, and then just completely retired. And I got to share this with you, even though this is off the point, but it's a great point. I asked him, I go, how many people have you personally recruited? And he goes, you're going to laugh. And I go, I won't laugh. He said, 12. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, I've personally recruited 12 people. I mean, and then of course I got to dig and I go, how the heck did you do that, build such a massive organization? Well, he clearly understood, the concept of taprooting and driving depth. And he found a woman on his second level that was over in the Philippines. And he literally moved to the Philippines for like a year. And he just hunkered down with her for a year and helped her build a business. He's got the #1 organization in the Philippines, and he did the same thing over in the Netherlands. So, I just find that fascinating because he's such a rarity, and he's living, kind of like a king over in Thailand because it's so cheap to live there. But we talk all the time, or I don't want to say we because I don't, but a lot of people talk all the time about how you get into a company. Timing has to be everything. Like in the example that I just gave you, he got into a company that, was probably 20 years old when he joined. And now to the real meat of the matter. So I interviewed Brian Carruthers last week, and we released this episode. It is an epic conversation. So I'll just tell you that where you can find it real quick, toddfalcone.com/episode 275. Is where you can find it. I'll repeat it. I'll put it in the comments as well. But so I met Brian probably, over 20 years ago, probably 23 years ago. He's been in one company for as long as I've known him. He's never wavered. That company, by the way, and this is kind of interesting. That company was 25 or 26 years old when he joined. So, a lot of times you get these people that plant this seed in your head that you have to be in first, you have to be in early, otherwise it's too late. So you got, and I actually cornered a guy one time. I was in a company that I think we were probably year 3. We were absolutely smoking. I mean, things were on fire, vertical growth. I mean, people were making money, big checks. It was good times. By the way, that run never lasts forever. That big vertical run, there's always adjustments and whatever. So, but I remember talking to this guy at about year 3, and honestly, very few people, as good as the company was doing, very few people knew who we were. And he's like, oh, he goes, it's too late. He says, it's too late. I missed it. I'm like, dude, so what are you telling me? You're going to go find a company that's less than 2 years old. You're going to build that company for 2 years. And then at the end of the 2 years, you're going to say, wait, everybody, it's too late. Okay, no, you don't join anymore. Everybody stop. I mean, think about the rationale behind that thought process. So he's basically telling me that, okay, at year 2, and I cornered him on him. I'm like, so what are you going to do? You're going to go build a deal that's brand new, that started yesterday, that's completely unproven. They haven't even paid a check or shipped a product, or we don't even know if they can get it done. And then you're going to build it for 2 years, and then you're going to completely stop, and you're going to tell everybody, hey guys, we're not taking any more people. It's too late. I mean, think about how stupid that is. And I share that with you because, here's Brian. And I mean, literally, like, I have the most mad respect for that dude because he's just never wavered. He's never, ever wavered. As long as I've known him, he's been in the same company. He joined again when it was a 25-year-old company. And he's also, by the way, we get into a bunch of stuff in this interview. We get into very specific tactics, strategies, how he builds, how he launches people. Really powerful. When you get to that segment in the interview, I was like, well, you got to repeat that again because I want to know what you're doing. So we talk about building strategy. Interestingly enough, like last year, I think I misspoke when in the actual interview, but I think he was like the number 3 recruiter in his entire company last year. Number 3 recruiter. And what's interesting, I was at the ANMP pre-COVID, like I don't know what it was, probably 2018 or something. And I was sitting there with Jordan Adler and him. And I can't remember who else we were having breakfast with. And Brian gets up and he goes, you got to excuse me for a second. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I got to make a prospecting call. So here's a guy that, gets up from the breakfast table, moves 2 tables down and does this prospecting call in the middle of breakfast, which is great. And it's like, but how many people do that? Like, so many people will just bail. This happens a lot where people get to a level of income. I mean, when I say a lot, I mean majority of time, where people get to a level of income and then they completely just like tune out and they stop. And I mean, here's a guy 25 plus years in the same company, and he's still at one of the top recruiters in his entire company. 25 years in. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to think for a minute about other, long-standing companies and leaders that I know that are still top recruiters 25 years in. There's a few people that I know that have never gone into management mode or, stopped the focus on primary productive activities. But Brian is just one of those dudes that, not only is he, insanely committed, joining a 25-year-old company. So some of you guys are, thinking about, or maybe hopefully you're already in a company, but if you're like trying to find a company and you're like, well, I can't do the deal unless it's, unless they're less than 2 years old. In fact, there's another really good friend of mine, Dan McCormick. I'm going to put this domain in here. Dan McCormick, the company he joined, he was, I don't even know. They started in 1987, and he joined probably 14 years into it after they had a major run. So, and he's a legendary figure in the space as well. Hang on one second. We just put this in here. So toddfalcone.com/episode 275 is where you can find this Brian Carruthers interview. So, but the other thing about Brian that I think is really amazing is, so many people in the business, they just blow all their money and then they have nothing to show for it. And he is probably the single, how do I want to phrase this? From a making his money work for him standpoint, like, I don't know anybody else in network marketing that has taken the earnings that they've earned and then put it to work for them in a way where I'm pretty confident that he's probably made more money investing than he has in his lifelong earnings in the company that he's involved in. So just pretty phenomenal. So there's a lot to learn from this interview. It's about an hour and 10 or hour and 15 minutes. So, make sure you've got time to sit down, and I definitely have a pen and paper handy because we just get into a lot of really good stuff. So again, toddfalcone.com/episode 275 is where you'll find that episode. We get into launching, prospecting, strategies, his specific, the exact words that he uses when he's doing it. We get into, again, some of the stuff that we get into on the, launching a new rep is really powerful. And then we get into kind of the money talk. And, it's like, what's the purpose of making a bunch of money if you've got nothing to show for it in the end? I mean, I know tons of people have had to liquidate all of their assets, and, because here's the thing you have to understand. When you build a company, if you get into a company that does have that beautiful experience of having really good, solid vertical growth, where you're like, oh wow, the check is increasing, whoa, the check increased a lot, the check is increasing, because there's just a wave of momentum going on in the company, and not all companies experience that. But if you're lucky enough to be in a company that does that, it doesn't always go like that. At some point, it's going to go like this, and then it might go like this. Hopefully it doesn't go like this. But I mean, I can tell you the company that he's involved in has had, cycles. It's like if you look at a chart, it's ups and downs, and it's not just this constant upward trend. And so and I'll just give you this warning, and I've given it to many people over the years who, unfortunately, when you give good, solid, sage advice, when somebody's really cranking, most of the time, I don't know, a lot of the times it falls on deaf ears. Meaning they just don't want to hear it. They're thinking I got one friend of mine who, I don't know, he was probably making $250, $275 a month. He was buying cars left and right, wrecking cars left and right. I mean, I don't think he was a very good driver. And, so, there goes 250,000 out the door, totaled that rig. And, there goes another car I wrecked. And I told him, man, I was like, dude, the run, and this is his first big run. He had made maybe 15 grand a month or something like that before. And so now he's like, and I won't mention his name, but this was a company that probably 10 years ago was kind of the talk of the town. Typically, every year, every couple of years, there's a company or two that are just up here in spotlights, and everybody knows who they are and what they're doing. And they were loud and proud, man. They were super, they let you know what they were doing. They were loud. And, now they don't even exist, which is crazy. They're gone, completely gone. But I told them, I said, hey man, you should be banking some of that money and setting aside, Falcone, and about, maybe it was a year and a half later, he called me up and he said, hey man, I wish I would have listened to you. And I'm like, I didn't say I told you so. In my mind, I did, but I didn't say I told you so. I was like, yeah, man. I mean, I just was trying to help you out, and I've been around this game for a long, long time, and I've seen it, and I've seen it happen repeatedly over and over again. So I was just trying to help you out. So, but yeah, so I don't know, the conversation with Brian Carruthers is just a really, truly amazing one. We just, got on a Zoom and went after it and just talked about the business and how the business gets done. So I think you'll enjoy it, especially if you're a person who, hey man, I want to make this a lifelong career. I want this to be my career. I want this to be what I do. And so you get to hear from somebody who's been in the game for a long time, been incredibly successful at it, and also just, been really good on the other side, the money side of the equation. So anyhow, so you can find that Todd Falcone, TODDFALCONE.com/episode 275. I hope you guys have a beautiful Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday. I'm pretty sure it is. If not, whatever. So, all right, we'll see you.